There's two things that are very traditional from that time, and it's one, you make bread that looks like children. We
Oh
call them
wow.
like guaguas de pan. Guagua is the sort of Quechua or like Inca term for children,
Hmm.
and you make this drink called like colada morada, which is like purple, translates to like purple, I don't know, like mix, I guess.
Hmm.
And it's kind of like a very nice warm fruit drink. So it's good when it's really cold. So I
Oh
always look
nice.
forward to that time of the year because man, you get to eat that like sweet, children bread and the drink.
Welcome everyone to Archaeology Arcade. I'm Mike with the Florida Public Archaeology Network, and I'm based in our Pensacola office at our coordinating center. I'm joined once again by my colleague Tristan, who's based in our Tallahassee office. And for today's archaeologist guest, we're bringing back Andres Garzon to play this game, the Shadow of the Tomb Raider. And we thought we would we had so much fun last time playing this game. I at least learned a lot about some of the indigenous cultures who still live in Central and South America. And because it is November, it is Native American Heritage Month, and it's only a couple days away from Thanksgiving. So we thought this would be a good opportunity to play this game since there's so much representation of Native peoples within it. So with that said, how are you, Tristan and Andres? How are you guys doing?
Good. Good. Ready to do some more ethical archaeology.
That's not destroying sites.
Right.
Although I don't think that's an option in this game.
Right. Right.
You know. And so last time we played this game, we did some walkthroughs. We talked about a lot of the different some of the work that Andres that you have done in South America. We've talked a little bit about the different indigenous people who live there, and then I think we started to kind of play the game a little bit. Although I don't think we got that far into it, so there's still a lot to
Weren't
look at when
we
we're
like
playing.
an intern at a museum, a Mayan museum, and something got stolen?
Isn't that Nancy Drew?
Oh, that might be Nancy Drew.
Not maybe this is Nancy Drew grown up.
Yeah, I like that.
Maybe there's maybe a connection there. I don't know. And so if anybody on our Twitch channel, if there is anybody out there, if you have any questions in the chat or comments about this game, just please let us know, and we will get to you. If not, then just sit back and enjoy the show. So rope pull? There you go.
That looks like a trap.
Yeah.
My keen archaeological senses tell me.
And so Thanksgiving, like I mentioned, is just coming up in a couple days, and of course I think this year's a lot different for most of us, anyways. I would think because of COVID-19 still being a thing, pandemic still being very much active, and so I think at least for me, Thanksgiving will not be what it traditionally is, but of course, being someone who's was born and raised in the United States, Thanksgiving has always been a time of gathering with family and then eating lots of turkey and mashed potatoes and cranberry sauce and all that stuff. But of course, when I was a kid growing up, and I think they still teach it this way in most, at least elementary schools, kind of the story of how Thanksgiving started with the Pilgrims and the Native Americans and how they lived peacefully together and got along. That was kind of the narrative that was pushed when I was a kid. But it also, I think, has become more problematic over the last several decades, at least since the 1960s with new social history, and especially nowadays as we're coming to be more aware of as a country of some of the past injustices that have happened to the indigenous people, dating really back to this kind of thing we say we celebrate of being Thanksgiving. And so I was just curious, Andres, I know Tristan Has that kind of been your experience with Thanksgiving, like a similar?
Yeah, and I think for many people in the U.S., I think it's still not really on their consciousness about how problematic it is. But with our field, we kind of become aware of that just through exposure to the history involved and everything. So it's still good to raise awareness and have these conversations because a lot of people probably haven't given it much thought yet.
Right. Yeah. And so, Andres, you're from South America, and we talked a little bit about this before we went live. But so of course you guys don't celebrate Thanksgiving down in South America. But can you talk a little bit about um, what this month means to you?
Are you there? I think you might be muted.
Oh, he might be muted. Okay.
I've been wondering. He's been very quiet.
Oh, I see. Okay, there we go.
I was-
Sorry
we
about
were, we were
that.
probably just talking over you the whole time.
Yeah,
How rude
yeah,
of
he's like,
us.
why are these guys just so rude?
Sorry about
I
that.
wondered.
No, it's all
that.
good.
Yeah.
Well, first of all, hi. I was kind of introducing myself, but I guess no one could hear me. It's good to be back. Oh yeah, in Ecuador we don't have Thanksgiving. It's very much an American holiday, but you know, like Americans, like everything else, export their holidays. So there are sort of adaptations of things like Halloween or Thanksgiving within like, you know, like at least the sort of commercial system of the country, but there isn't really like, oh, let's get together for a big turkey dinner on in November. That's actually a Christmas thing we do. Like the big turkey dinner is a Christmas evening thing,
Hmm.
which is kind of interesting. But November has a different meaning. That's sort of related to the Day of the Dead, which is in the middle of November. And in Ecuador, we don't celebrate it as much as, let's say, Mexico with all the festivals and the body painting and the skulls and all that really cool stuff. What we do is the idea is you're supposed to go to the cemetery and pay respects to the dead. And there's two things that are very traditional from that time, and it's one, you make bread that looks like children. We
Oh,
call them
wow.
like guaguas de pan. Guagua is the sort of Quechua or like Inca term for children.
Hmm.
And you make this drink called like colada morada, which is like purple, translates to like purple, I don't know, like mix, I guess.
Mhm.
And it's kind of like a very nice warm fruit drink. So it's good when it's really cold. So I
Oh,
always look
nice.
forward to that time of the year because man, you get to eat that like sweet, you know, children bread and the drink. Not so much going to the cemetery, but
Right. Yeah. No, I mean, that's for. I guess it's like anywhere you go. Like whenever there's like lots of food involved, like it doesn't matter where.
Oh yeah, I mean that's how
I'm
you
totally down.
ritualize
Yeah.
anything.
Yeah.
It's like that's how
Right.
you convince people. It's like, oh, you wanna practice this? We're gonna give you food and a drink.
Right.
It
Like, yeah,
becomes really
sure.
popular that way.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, it's interesting too. You mentioned, of course, like turkey, and that's like I think on most tables during Thanksgiving, like we're all eating the same stuff in the United States. I know people like post the pictures of like all the food they're eating and the spread, but it's like pretty much it all looks similar. But what's really interesting about that is that you look at things like turkey and potatoes and corn and cranberries, and um, none of that was European. I mean, that was all foods that were harvested and refined through hundreds or thousands of years by at least in North America by the indigenous people who lived here. Of course, before the pilgrims came to Plymouth Rock in 1620, they'd been eating this stuff for thousands of years. And so I think that's an important thing that we kind of recognize is the contributions from the indigenous people for things that we have and the knowledge that we have on how to prepare these foods. And of course, that's one kind of probably superficial legacy of it. But also to kind of going back to the story that I was told as a kid of the native people and the pilgrims just kind of getting along. That's really only like a very small part of the legacy and the story, because within a few decades, some of the worst, most devastating conflict occurred between the indigenous people of the Northeast, like the Wanapog and the Pequots, and these British or English colonists. And so that's part of that story that does need to be told and recognized, because it had serious consequences for for the indigenous people living in
Oh,
North
absolutely.
America.
One of the things you touched on that I think it's incredibly important. It's we kind of lump this very important period in history into just like kind of one narrative and one idea, um, and people need to question that because it was a very complex, very changing process. I mean, things changed quickly. Some of the first contact between European groups and Native American groups were not such an equal footing in that Europeans were not doing well. They were not adapting
Mhm.
to the harsh seasons of North America. They were not doing well getting food and growing food. So a lot of the sort of idea of like, oh, sharing sort of the native foods and showing the pilgrims how to do things are not quite true. I remember, for example, with interactions between the Powhatan and like the town of Jamestown, that the people of Jamestown were so desperate they were grave robbing. Essentially, they were going to
Right.
places like that where like people left food offerings for their dead, and they were stealing the food
Mhm.
offerings. That was
Right.
kind of the
Yeah.
level of desperation that people were doing because they were not doing so great. Now that's the initial contact. Once disease is settled in, now we understand how infectious disease can completely disturb a society. Um, you know, Once that happened, you have such level of depopulation and disarray that kind of shift of power changed really, really quickly, right? And all of
Mhm.
a
Yeah.
sudden, you had um, a level of depopulation and desperation on the other side of a completely changed environment. In fact, if you kind of read the sort of, and this is true throughout the Americas and all the coasts, you read kind of the early chronicles, around like, you know, 1500s, 1530s, and all the descriptions are of towns full of people and light and fires and food and just like people everywhere, like life everywhere. You get the descriptions a few decades later, like let's say like 30, 40 years later, and it's just no one. And just, I mean, obviously not no one. I'm talking about specifically about the coast, right?
Mhm.
That go around and see abandoned towns, just see bleaching bones in the surface. That was kind of the level of depopulation that happened. It's something that in archaeology and in anthropology and paleoenvironmental science now we're talking about as the Great Dying. That's
Mhm.
how bad it was.
Mm-hmm.
This is something that I find fascinating because I'm studying climate in the past, and one of the kind of theories that's really gaining traction is that so many people died because of contact in the 16th century, that so much land that was previously agricultural land became foul, became again forest,
Mhm.
that it took so much carbon away from the atmosphere that is actually the response, sort of the cause of the onset of the Little Ice Age,
Oh,
where like
wow.
Europe experienced,
Mm.
terrible
Mhm.
below average temperatures, and like there were droughts in different parts of the world that didn't experience drought, things like that. So
Wow.
just shows like the level of a catastrophe
Mhm.
that event was.
Wow. Yeah, it's incredible and I think it's an important part, like you said, to tell this side of the story, to not just think of these holidays that we have now as these kind of one-sided kind of narrow views of history based on and I guess like for young kids when they're teaching us these stories about Thanksgiving, it's not like a bad message to like get along and
No, not at all,
share, but
absolutely.
but
But
it's
there's
also
always
very
this justification that
right.
it's almost like it's always portrayed as like, oh, one group was more technologically advanced, oh, the other group
Right.
had guns, or like,
Mhm.
Uh-huh.
and it's just, it wasn't equal footing because of disease, like,
Right. Right.
and that's an inconvenient truth, right? It's
Uh-huh.
hard to create a narrative that people can be proud of when it starts from genocide. I mean, that is a
Right.
rough thing to
Yeah.
accept as a society, and obviously difficult to teach to kids.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But also, I mean, I think that you raised another that important point of looking from those kind of indigenous perspectives. Um, you look at like the story of the pilgrims and the one guy, I can't talk today. But you look at some of these early interactions, and there was very much the decisions that some of these indigenous groups made with helping these colonists was also geopolitical. I
Oh,
mean,
absolutely.
so they were looking at potential allies to help them, in the future. So these were like very strategic moves. These weren't just,
Mhm.
these, ignorant people coming out, helping these poor people who they felt sorry for, but they saw there was some really strategic tactical thinking behind some of the decisions that these leaders made, and that shows that agency. Um, but like you said, I mean, having to face uh, a group of these colonists, these colonizers, when you're faced with this terrible devastation from disease, but also these kind of different ideas about warfare. For example, I mentioned the Pequot Wars and King Philip's War. There's a great book by Nathaniel Philbrick called Mayflower: Voyage, Community, and War. I read it several years ago, but it's what's interesting about the book is it touches, of course, on the story of the Pilgrims coming over on the Mayflower, but most of the book is actually what happens a few decades later. Um, with King Philip's War and how brutal that conflict was. But also, it's
Interesting.
interesting too because you look at um, you look at this idea of the Europeans just being technologically superior. But if you look at King Philip's War, the the um, the indigenous people the many different groups who fought against the English colonists were actually armed with flintlock, and most of the colonists were only armed with matchlocks, and so they actually caused significant, they that colony was on the brink of destruction. So I think it's important to look at that too, to say like, they weren't savages, they weren't non-thinking people, they were making strategic decisions, and if they needed to defend themselves, they were certainly capable of doing that when they had to.
Well, and that's kind of a problem of that narrative, is that, and this is something that I struggle kind of trying to explain to people, um, when with the kind of archaeology that I do in Ecuador, and it's that we have this vision of like what is Native American as almost like, oh, tribal, ancient, old, and it's 10,000 years of cultural process, and then these are, at that time of contact, these are 16th century people, these are 16th century societies. It's not like they're in a vacuum of space and time, like,
Right.
so yeah, like you said, there's incredibly complex relationship between groups, regionally, locally, you know um, there's alliances, there's wars, there's just like you have in the old war, like people identify many different ways. You may identify yourself with your nation, you may identify yourself with your town, you may identify yourself with a religion, you might identify yourself with a team, like it's the same thing, right? And
Mhm.
what's beneficial for your group might not be beneficial for the others. So the example is always like, yeah, like a lot of the conquistadors got help, navigating and knowing what's going on and translating, because it was for the advantage of whatever group was benefiting from that relationship at that time, right? Now, like, and here's like, no, I mean, I'm not taking away anything from the sort of kind of terrible consequences of especially what the Spanish did and how they treated people and all that. But you have to think that like, this kind of depopulation, what happened was biological, right? Like, this is
Mhm.
two worlds that um, sort of didn't have a lot of context, so there was no immunities whatsoever here. So I mean,
Right.
regardless of what happened, it was just like if you were nice or not nice to people, you were still gonna spread that disease, right?
Right. Yeah. No, that's yeah. Exactly. Yeah. And then what I like about this game too, that as we played through it with you the last time, is to see some of these cultures represented. You know, I think a lot of times we, at least in the United States, we kind of have a tendency to think like, oh, these are things that happened a long time ago, and these, you know, these people, these native people who live like the Wampanoag people that first interacted with the Pilgrims, we almost act like, you know, they're not around anymore, but of course they are. They're very much still alive and you know, living in the United States. Can you talk a little bit about that within South America with some of the indigenous groups? Because is there some similar kind of aspects with that in terms of looking at the
Oh,
Aztec people or the Maya?
yeah, it's absolutely it's really complex and interesting too, because it depends on the group, and it depends on the colonizing force. You know, one of the kind of the big difference between the sort of British settlers and the Spanish conquistadors, it was uh, one was extremely military. Like the conquistadors were, you know, military people. They were trained to like kill, fight, and expel people. They were the ones that expelled like the Moors from southern Spain. You know, they had a long tradition of, and that's what they were doing. The British were just trying to like settle in and make a living, right? At first, after that, it changed because the conditions changed.
Mhm.
But at the same time, you know, some groups, some native groups like closer to the coast, it was just too much. You know, the group
Mhm.
I work with, the Manteño, which are a coastal group, you know, seafaring group, and you know, trading group and all that, kind of like the Powhatan or like the Caribbean groups, you know, in that they're just depend on those coasts a lot, and they have the first contact with anyone, right? Um, it was just so that the population was so terrible. I mean, we're talking about like 9 out of 10 people that, yeah, I mean, like all the descendants there, you know, for the most part are mixed, or like they're mostly native, and the population has recovered now. But um, as far as like a sort of solid memory as other groups have of that past, you know, like here in North America, you know, like the Dakota people know their roots going way back, you know, like even though some of these groups are kind of products of the colonial contact or confederations of other smaller groups that have to consolidate, they have this sense of identity that goes really far back, right? With this with the coastal groups of Ecuador, you don't, and it's almost like it's almost like they've adopted this identity of like, okay, you're not indigenous, you're a campesino, right? You're just like a rural worker. So there's this lack of sort of indigenous identity, but that's being sort of now we want to change that, because what it means also is that you can justify, these towns can justify their land, right? And that's kind of a constant struggle everywhere in the world, is what is public land, what is private land, what
Hmm.
is a town, what is not, you know. And so for these groups to say, hey, like we've been here for 10,000 years, we've been in this town for 10,000 years, you cannot you know, kick us out. These are
Hmm.
ancestral lands. That's when it becomes really important, right? It's creating this sense of identity, and that's where archaeology comes into play,
Mhm.
because we can show that connection. So that's nice.
Yeah.
But obviously, it's very different from groups like in the highlands in Ecuador that have a sort of, they naturally kind of, because they were further inland, they had better survival rates. They kind of maintained more of their identity and their religion and like their traditions. So they can call themselves, oh, we are the blah blah blah. We believe this, and we are, you know, it's so it's interesting, because I mean the entire continent was Native America, and you know, no matter where you go, there was people. It's just a matter of like how many people survived, what ideas survived, what elements of the culture survived, and then how we can help rescue some of that stuff, right?
Right.
no.
up and down. Did you mess it
Hello?
up? Yeah.
Yeah,
All right.
sorry, we're here.
Oh, okay, cool. Okay, you can still see the game, right?
Yes.
Yeah, we can see it.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. It was like the sharing screen for some reason. I thought it wasn't sharing anymore.
No, you're good. No, I was just taking in all that you said. It's like, yeah, this is good stuff. Yeah.
Well, I think that's kind of what is interesting about history. It's incredibly complex, but I mean, if I mean, I don't think it's hard to understand, right? Like if you explain, hey, this is what happened, this is like kind of the consequences of everything that happened, then you understand, what continent we're living in.
Right. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so you mentioned being in at least in Ecuador, this kind of concept of focusing more on that indigenous heritage for you said for land settlements. I think that's really interesting because we're seeing some kind of interesting parallels here in at least in Northwest Florida with access to beaches.
Oh,
And
that's
so
interesting.
yeah, so the in Walton County, which is up in Northwest Florida, well, I should say South Walton County, which is where some of the beaches are at. Over the past 10 years or so, a lot of very wealthy people that are not from Florida, so people like Mike Huckabee, for example, kind of gives you Karl Rove, they've bought property down in South Walton County. And so the one thing that they've started to do more recently over the last few years is try to push through legislation to restrict public access to what they're now saying are privately owned beaches. And it's never been that way here in Northwest Florida. I mean, the beaches have always been public, and people have always had access to them. But you're seeing this kind of push towards this kind of privatization of these beaches that have customarily always been used and open. And so what was one thing that, and the parallel that I'm kind of hearing here is one thing that's some of the different cities that have tried to sue to change some of these laws is that they're saying, well, the Native Americans, the indigenous people, have always used the beaches as open access, and so you can't own those beaches. And they're actually some of the I know some of the lawyers that are working from some of these cities that are suing have actually approached like the indigenous groups that still live around here to show evidence that through their oral traditions that these beaches are something that they've always used, that have always been open for everyone, or for them. This
Not to mention that the fact
specifically,
of privatizing a beach itself is kind of
it's terrible. Yeah,
incredibly terrible.
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah,
Especially
But
because
yeah.
they're like dynamic environments that change.
Right.
so-
exactly. Yeah,
Right.
it's crazy.
Well, and we touched something so interesting, which is, it was extremely problematic in the past, and it is still today, and it's this idea of private property, right? It's like, if you as a people have no concept of private property, and someone tells you, hey, I'm gonna give you this for this, and you're like, sure, thanks, like, but
Right, yeah,
it's not really I mean, you can't really sell that.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. No, that's a good point, and I mean that's how a lot of those treaties were drawn up in North America.
Oh, and the treaties, that's even like worse, because then you're
Right.
like, breaking your word constantly over and over again. The Smithsonian had like a whole, in the Museum of the American Indian, they had like a whole exhibit of all the
I saw
treaties
that,
were
yeah.
signed and broken over like a 200-year period. And it's just like, I mean, that's kind of what's really sad, right? It's like, these groups, even after the Great Dying and all of that, when they got together, they understood their reality, right? They understood their modernity, and they wanted to be recognized as nations. They were like, we want to be in equal footing. We want to play by your rules, right? And that was what happened, right? It's like, okay, well, like, we're gonna respect this. If we sign this treaty, we're just gonna be here. And then every single one of those gets broken and broken and broken over and over again. And imagine modern nations doing that and being like,
yeah.
yep, that's the thing we signed. Yeah, I don't respect that. So
Right. Yeah. Yeah, it's crazy, and that's and again, it's an important. I know exactly. I actually went through that exhibit several years ago, and it was really eye opening. I mean, especially even for me, and I feel like I'm somewhat knowledgeable about this part of U.S. history, but it's a story that I think a lot of people either were never told or just kind of choose not to really look at. And yeah, and that's a good comparison. I mean, imagine
Ooh.
I would never,
Hmm.
if we were a country dealing with another nation state and they never honored anything we signed. I mean, what does that say about that other nation state and their
Yeah,
own
and I
policies?
mean this, and then that's why you kind of have this distrust, right? Like that's why tribal groups just don't trust the federal government, don't trust local governments, because
Right.
never worked for them in the
Right,
past, so you
right.
can't blame them. I mean, not say never, but like,
No, yeah, exactly. Yeah, I know what you mean. Do you have like similar things happening in South America? I mean, what's the relationship between the 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 national government and local governments, indigenous people?
oh,
Is there
absolutely, it's just
yeah.
as complex, and you have kind of, like I said, like different degrees of indigeneity, right? Like you've got people that are descendants, but are like, okay, we're just campesinos, we don't have that kind of a native identity. Then you have groups in the highlands that have extremely strong identities, and they form social political units that can paralyze the country if they get a bad deal, or like they have a lot of political power, which is impressive. um just out of the top of my head, the last time something like that happened was fairly recently in 2019. um that were basically, what happened was that a subsidy on gas was going to be eliminated because it was a recommendation of the IMF, and it meant that overnight the price of gas was going to double. And if you entire industry's agriculture and you depend on that gas to run your truck, to move the product, all of that, then you lose half your profit. So these groups just couldn't afford it. So they paralyzed the city. It was like a lot of violence, in part of mostly the government. But they ended up keeping the subsidies, so they
Mm,
have the political power. Ah,
wow.
there we go. This is how I do this.
And one thing that I think is good about this game, at least from what they say at the beginning of it, is that how they uh, consulted with different cultural groups. And I believe it said some of the indigenous groups. I believe in this game, although I'm
Oh
not
yeah,
sure.
absolutely. Especially for the language, they said, because they've really done a great job, recreating the sort of social settings.
Right. How about the underground archaeological sites?
I mean, you guys never been to a temple like this? I
No.
mean, I usually don't rappel down because I'm scared of heights, but I'm just kidding.
I just use a little parachute. No big deal.
Uh, no, my work is more like, look, there's 3 stones in the line. That's a civilization.
Yeah. Yeah. I found a chip.
Ooh, there you go, Maya.
Box. Silver box. So that's what we're looking for?
Apparently.
Silver box? Okay.
Oh man, that's a big tsunami.
Quite the mural.
Earth.
Yeah, it's in really good shape.
Yeah, I know. Well, it is a cave, I
It's
guess.
Yeah, I
underground.
guess it
Yeah.
could be. Yeah, that's true.
Just like, glyphs are never that, like, they never nicely depict any scene like that. You're just like, wow, yeah, that's definitely an earthquake. It's like, no, who knows? Could be an earthquake, could be a tree.
Right. Yeah, it's so nice when the picture just makes complete sense and like
Right.
anybody can figure out what's going on.
We found the last time we had the field school, just like a little piece of pottery with like a little animal on it, and it's like, is it an octopus? Is it an opossum? Like, we were just not sure.
Right.
People
Yeah, I
took a
guess.
lot of artistic liberties.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ooh, that's nice.
Oh. Do- oh, there you go. How
I
many
mean, would you
artifacts?
guys remove an artifact if it was on a pedestal like that?
Absolutely not. I've watched too many Indiana Jones.
Clearly
No,
trapped.
Don't move it because a boulder will.
Don't do it,
And
Lara.
also,
Yeah.
it would not be ethical.
Then there's that too. Yeah. She just needs to
What do you
document
know? Somehow there was a
So-
trigger to bring the whole cave down.
Well, you know, the Maya built his entire temple over a fault system and put that specific knife there to keep everything in balance.
The resonant, she pulled it out, the ting was
it.
just
Oh,
right.
almost got her.
Oh, it didn't keep going.
Now you gotta run.
Oh no, you took it, didn't you?
See, always listen to your like friend.
Yeah.
Or like minority friend.
/ conscience,
I
whatever.
think he's like someone I can't want to say I can't remember.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's like, don't loot that artifact. It's a bad idea.
She's like, nah, I'll do it anyways.
And
But
like, I
I'm the
told
Tomb
you.
Raider.
I told you not
That's
to do
what
it.
I do.
Yes, I heard you, okay?
What?
Dominguez is coming tonight. I get it. What I'm telling you is the rain
Ooh,
is
now
gonna
we got
flood it.
some action.
What the fuck do you think I'm doing?
Oh, and some swearing.
Checking on the water pump right now. Okay.
Oh
Let's
yeah,
make
this
sure
game's all
everything's
about
copacetic
stealth. I
here.
forgot. This is great.
Okay, so you just gotta stay hidden.
Oh, dang. He was just working.
Who's that guy?
Yeah.
Always rob the body after. Every
Wait,
archaeologist knows that.
Why is he wearing? Did he have face paint on?
Yeah, he was in the. You know, at the beginning, remember last time we were in like the Day of the Dead
Oh,
celebration?
yeah,
So it's
okay.
one of those guys.
Oh, okay.
Gotcha. Okay, gotcha.
So we knew he was a bad guy. He wasn't just a construction worker or an archaeologist.
He was just a construction worker that after he got off, he was gonna go to the celebration and we
He
just
went
murdered.
straight there, yeah.
Hey, the tutorial said to do a stealth kill. I did a stealth.
He might have deserved it. I don't know.
Help me get these lights ready.
See, they got a backhoe. Now there's just nothing good going on here.
No. So are they looking for what we just found? Is that why there's all this stuff?
Oh, they're clearly looking in the wrong place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They should have bored a little bit more to the left, and they would have
What do
found
you
it.
think is in there?
I mean, a backhoe
don't know.
can be good
I hear the
archaeology,
readings are off
but
the
it's usually
charts.
not.
Let's just make sure the perimeter is secure.
Did I mention that
Commander
this
Rourke
game
gets
was
here.
revolutionary on the plant design?
I noticed she does blend into the plants really well
Yeah.
until she turns on her Tomb Raider vision. Good thing they don't have that. They'd see her right away.
Right? I want Tomb Raider vision. It would
Yeah.
make my job a lot easier. Okay, if you get like stabbed with a pick on the chest,
don't
I'm pretty
worry,
sure
I'll
you
fix
make
it.
a loud, very loud noise.
I think I'd make it right away, yes.
Dominguez has
I
to
think
wait
so
for us
too,
when
and
he
you
gets
probably
here.
wouldn't
It's not
die
gonna be
right away
pretty.
either.
Oh, this is neat. You can throw them bottles at them. So they're
What's
distracted.
happening
Distract
at the
them.
gate?
You could throw pottery sherds to distract them.
Yes.
Uh-oh. I think he found me. Oh no!
That wasn't...
Throw a bottle at them.
Got arrows. Where'd he go? Ooh. Arrows faster than the gun.
Little did they know she knows jujitsu.
Also, that tank top is anti-bullets.
Yeah.
Your privileges have been revoked.
Uh-oh.
It's the mud on her arms that deflected the bullet.
No witnesses.
She's just so fast. She
Yeah.
dodged it like the Matrix. Maybe it was the dagger. The dagger has special.
All right.
Or it hit the dagger and deflected it.
Yeah.
Aw.
Monitor the police station. Let us know when the gunshots get reported. Rourke and the reinforcements are on
I
the
think we're
way.
gonna be in trouble now.
I want everything ready when they get
Oh wait.
We
I
need
can kill
backup.
this guy.
What happened to our PI? What happened to that guy?
Yeah.
Yeah, they've been trying to warm out our intentions here for ages.
Well, they found
Kinda.
out tonight.
Nobody worry
Hope it
about
was
that
worth it.
body.
You're right.
Yeah, assholes should have minded their own business.
He's just taking a nap.
Okay, so
Ooh,
red
bottles.
means that.
Base camp, this is Gamma Leader.
I like these
Where's our
games too.
backup?
You can like stealth kill someone and then just jump
Don't give
into
me
a
that
bush,
shit.
and
The
then
site
they
is
can't
secure,
find you.
but we still need some.
In the middle of the cumbers. Oh! Ah! Hide, 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 hide.
They'll never see you.
Everything's fine here.
Just go to
We're
the other.
okay.
Oh,
Uh-oh.
That sounds like more than one guy.
Whoa, that's a
Oh.
grenade. It's okay, I can roll
Oh,
out
you
of
got-
here.
Get the dagger. Oh, grenade.
Right in the throat. Is that dude still alive? No. Alright, good job, Lar.
The hacked
Now we
computer.
rob the bodies. You always rob the body.
Always. True archaeologist.
That's where the good stuff's at, right?
Well, they shouldn't have looted those artifacts.
They pretty much deserved it.
Oh, I guess they all know about me.
Something's
Can I
wrong.
blow those
Let
things
them
with
finish.
Like, holy
Zero.
camoles.
Wow.
That is one extremely explosive arrow. Now
You
just
know,
shoot-
you always, if you hit a plastic can of gasoline, of course it's gonna.
Of course.
Blows up.
Shoot the helicopter out of the
Target
sky.
sighted.
What are the ropes
Who are
over
these
their
guys?
heads? Mosquitoes?
Right.
Got a gun.
I mean, they already have the face paint.
What happened with stealth?
Stealth is over.
Doesn't matter anymore.
I honestly have no idea how to heal. I should heal. Ooh, shotgun.
Hold it. Just hold it a second.
Alright. I don't need to heal when I have a shotgun.
Nope. Oh, there goes the computer you were supposed to hack.
It's really just a Excel spreadsheet with all the different pottery shards that you found on it.
They
and the
aren't
weights.
keeping a spreadsheet.
Only for the stuff they can sell. Someone's got to keep track of it.
Hold your fire.
This is where you die.
That doesn't sound like hold your fire.
I know, right? Also, don't like foreshadow it. That's not gonna go well for you.
Yeah, these guys are terrible soldiers. They're not
Gonna
getting
reveal my
undercover. Yeah.
Can't see me now.
In the spotlight.
I am in the spotlight. They don't know that. I didn't mean to do that, but it
They,
worked.
they would they would never think to look for you in the spotlight. Oh, they can
Man.
see you.
Yeah, he kind of snuck up on me. Oh, crap.
Oh, there he is.
Reload.
He's good.
There.
These guys have a lot of grenades.
Yeah.
Man, she just took like 20 people. Like, it's like the whole town.
Yeah, I'm starting to wonder if Lara Croft is a little bit more than just a Tomb Raider.
Oh yeah, she's
I
a
think she might be like special forces.
cold-blooded
or something.
killer.
Yeah. Yeah, she means
It's
business.
okay if you do it with arrows, cause you know that's not that bad.
At least it's
Once
sporting.
you move into guns, there's a whole ethical.
Yeah. If you do it with arrows, it's
Problem with
sporting
it.
at least.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, at least it's historical.
Now give her an atlatl, then I'd be really excited.
Oh,
That
yeah.
would be neat.
Yeah, you know, that'd be a lot more impressive.
Well, that was not impressive though.
Yeah, after she shot 20 people,
And
they're
he-
just
and he-
gonna let her
and he
like
just
get away
poked her
with
in the
it.
back. Looked like.
Oh,
Your
God.
weakness, your kidney.
Yeah. Well, that is fair. That's kind of everyone's weakness there.
Yeah, it actually does hurt the liver shot. That's,
Yeah.
that's pretty painful. Yeah, but like, why are they like? She just killed almost all of them, and you're just gonna talk to her now.
I
Like,
mean, I'm
maybe-
sure one of them had to have a buddy in that group of people, right? Where you.
Yeah, right. Yeah, you think you'd be upset? you killed my best friend, but I'm just gonna talk to you
Yeah.
because you might know some important information. He's
Not
like, you're
good
the
music.
only one that knows how to get in the temple. So is that obsidian blade or is that like a metal blade?
It looks like metal. I think
It
it
does,
ends
doesn't
up
it?
being part of a meteorite or something like that.
Oh, okay.
That's kind of what it
classic.
looks like. Because you shouldn't have anything like that in the Americas. I mean, you probably have like a copper or brass metal,
Right.
you know, knife, but nothing, or gold knife, but no steel, nothing like that.
Right. He's like, where did you get this? Found it in the temple.
Tourist shop.
Probably, actually, yeah. I found it in a tourist shop.
It's rubber.
It's from the gift shop.
Just down the street, man. There's like 5 others just
Yeah.
like it.
Just go look.
Silver box can remake the world. Oh, he just wants to make the world a better place.
Oh, they all do.
Yeah. That's why they wear skull face paint.
In some cultures, that's not necessarily a bit like a bad thing, right?
I don't really know.
Skulls, maybe. I know
Maybe.
for pirates, it's definitely not a good thing.
Even they're telling her that was a bad idea to remove that thing. Like his little scarf. It's nice.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Keeps
Yeah.
the dust out of your face.
Just the air siren.
It's the apocalypse is coming.
Apparently.
She's like, oh no, not again.
Cleansing has begun.
Should
So-
have tomb raided.
Yeah.
I know. It's like every time I remove an artifact from a tomb, this happens.
Apocalypse begins.
Maybe that's what this is about. It's like her internal struggle because she's addicted to looting. Oh damn, run!
You know,
So she's not the hero.
the first step is to admit you have a problem. Oh man.
So she's
Yeah,
not.
that's not good.
No.
So if she
Hold
should,
on. Hold on.
She
If she
seriously
did-
killed like a lot of people here.
Oh yeah.
I know she should have just waited like 5 minutes, and then all those guys would have been washed away.
So, do I like grab someone's sand? Hell.
Yeah.
It's like going whitewater rafting, basically,
Oh my God.
Without the raft.
without the raft.
Sharp objects that'll puncture your raft.
I
too.
know, and like electricity
That dude was
everywhere.
trying to help me.
It's like, hold on, he was really just trying to get that dagger.
You-
Well, I guess that other guy took it, right?
Yeah.
Oh man. I'm trying to do something. There you go. Oh, a cart. Watch out.
She's incredibly strong.
Yeah, I
Luckily,
think
she.
if a rock falls on you, even underwater, it still crushes you.
Yeah, I don't
Right,
think.
yeah, I don't think it matters.
Was that a laser?
Oh man, look
That's
at
a
all
lot
the dead
of
people.
dead
That's so
people.
sad.
That's actually
Yeah.
really.
I forgot this game was so intense.
Yeah.
Why would it be in English first and then like in Spanish? Wouldn't it be the other way?
You would think so. We just gotta find our way out. Yeah. Maybe it's like a bar for tourists, and that's. And all the people we saw were just tourists.
So go through the
They had no
bus.
idea.
Yes.
Go to the light.
Oh man, she can really hold her breath.
Yeah.
That bit you were playing earlier where she's going through the caves and had to squeeze through that last bit. I was like, that's kind of a nightmare.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, no kidding.
The idea of compressed breathing while not underwater is already too much for me.
Oh, she made it.
Well, maybe
We're
not.
back on this.
Like, I'm not sure if we're in a better position now.
Woo! All right.
You know, if you knew you couldn't die, then this would be kind of fun.
Except for all the people you'd killed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we understand that right? This is all her fault.
Pretty much. It's because she took that
Yeah.
dagger.
Yeah, even
She-
the bad guy was like, you shouldn't have done that.
Yeah, what are you doing? That was stupid.
And now she knows why. And you know what's sad? Is there another Tomb Raider game after this?
I think this is the last one they made.
Oh, is it?
so far.
Well, I assume there's probably going to be another one, so I
Oh,
assume
yeah.
she definitely has not learned her lesson. Don't
Well,
loot, kids.
she understands that the true treasure is the journey.
Oh no!
That kid just followed the building?
Oh my God.
Oh my
Jeez.
I thought you couldn't, like... Children were not supposed to die in video games.
I guess not. Maybe maybe the kid just fell in the water and they're fine.
Well, I just fell.
Nope, that's probably what happened to the kid.
Oh, nice. Good that we can save.
Oh,
wait.
no!
Never mind.
You could take bullets to the chest, but not a
Rebar.
metal pole. Yeah, or rebar.
I'm not sure. Oh,
No.
no, wait. We have to go this
See it happen again. Just in case you didn't see it the first time,
There we go.
this is how you died. Yeah, I mean, right now there's just no good options, really.
I would have given up already.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, no, save
Oh,
the
we're
kid!
gonna have
Oh, man.
Can't help you.
Nope. Interesting how there's no fire in that one room
Oh
there.
yeah, there's.
Oh, why did
What?
she jump that way?
Man,
was
she just
almost
finds
up.
that pole no matter where she goes. It's always
Maybe
the same
go up.
one.
Can you go up? There you go. Oh no! Laura Croft
Checkpoints.
Oh,
should never have.
What,
taken-
oh, I'm
Jeez.
just doing worse and worse now. Alright, 5th time's the charm.
Yeah. Ugh.
Oh, you can. So we have to go up. You have to go up the building. You can't.
Yeah,
just
you gotta
Yeah,
go up
yeah,
this
yeah.
way.
It's a path.
I'm just not jumping the right way. Sometimes it's hard to know, like, what's like... What am I doing in this game? What's just doing by itself?
Yeah.
Alright, now up. There we go. Up, up, up.
There you go.
Oh, there. Yeah, got it.
Checkpoint.
Not in the fire.
Yeah, building is on fire. I wouldn't
Yeah.
want to stay there too long.
Probably not very structurally stable at this point.
But they
Well,
landed a
that's
helicopter on
convenient.
it apparently.
Now she has to think about what she did.
What are the chances?
You
Hey,
think
it's
she'll?
that guy.
You think she'll reflect?
Yeah, just for a minute.
Oh.
There's the guy. Who's
Oh, she's
once-
upset because she
Oh.
lost the dagger.
She's like.
I
That's
don't
probably-
feel so bad about all those
Yeah, she
falls
doesn't
on the
care
pole
about
now.
any of the kids that died or all those people. Just a dagger.
Seriously, at this point, is it that such a bad thing?
It's all my fault. It is your fault. He's like, we'll figure it out. Don't worry about it. He's like, we got to help the people. She's like, no, we got to get the box. Priorities, lady.
Seriously, this is some good lessons right here.
Right.
They don't teach you this in school.
It's a real moral dilemma. Do we continue to try to loot artifacts, or that will probably result in a lot more people dying, or do we just stop? Well, at least we know that this guy has a much better moral compass than
Yeah, no
Laura
joke.
Croft. Or maybe she's just like really dedicated to archaeology. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
My God.
Jeez.
Shouldn't have taken that dagger.
No.
No.
So
If you
first
ever find
comes
yourself-
the tidal wave, then the earthquake, then the volcano eruption. So get out of there.
Right. If you ever find yourself in that situation, do not
Take the
remove
dagger.
the dagger. Whatever you do. I mean, it's one thing like with Indiana Jones, because like, I mean, he almost died, and like I guess a couple other people did, but like it didn't destroy a whole city.
Yeah. He has that going for him at least.
Mhm. He's like, I can't believe I'm friends with her.
Yeah.
She's, what's she gonna say? She's like, well, I don't know what to say.
Let's
Yeah,
talk shop.
man. What do you say after you caused a earthquake, tsunami, and devastation of a city?
And she's still just talking about finding the box.
Yeah.
She's like, so, the box. He's like, oh, my family, all the people. She's like, whatever.
God.
She's like, but the riddle. She comes back to the riddle. Anywho, the box.
I've
and the
never
riddle.
come across a riddle in archaeology. How you guys have?
No, I don't. Not.
No. History,
Other than
mystery, yes, but
Yeah. Maybe like using like a GPS unit. That's kind of a riddle sometimes. Maybe I don't know. How does this thing work? There's going to be more disasters.
You gotta get your buddy killed, Lara.
yeah.
He knows it. He knows it too. He's like, this is. I should have never taken this job. You ever guys done like a CRM job and you're just like, man, shouldn't have done this.
Indiana. It's the one where Andres and I met. That job was kind of a nightmare in some ways.
Was it?
Yeah. It wasn't the worst. I did one in Oregon that was worse, actually.
Well, now you know. Then you know exactly how this guy feels.
Exactly. Exactly. Although that was just a pipeline. At least this is like.
I also wouldn't get in any method of transportation with her.
Yeah, right?
Yeah, she has really bad luck.
Yeah.
Like from that first game, all the boat
It all-
crashing,
crash,
plane
yeah.
crashing.
This is the one we see that falls apart at the beginning of the game, though, right? Or is that? Yeah.
I think so. Yeah.
I think we
Yeah,
saw
we're
this
in
one
the-
fall apart.
somewhat at the beginning of the game.
So this doesn't count as an extra crash. This one already happened in this game.
Okay, gotcha.
That,
Oh man. Told you never get on a plane with her.
No,
ever.
She's gonna what?
I didn't see.
Oh, she's
Oh,
gonna.
I think she separated the tail from the front. That's my guess.
Okay.
I don't know if that helps. I don't think it does, but
No.
She did that intentionally?
Yeah, everybody knows that you're supposed to do that when you're getting in a plane wreck.
Because that tail is just extra.
Take-
It's not necessary.
No, not really. It's just more for decoration.
Yeah.
And she's like, back here again, upside down, hanging from a tree.
And then a T-Rex comes out of the woods. There was a T-Rex in one of these games. Like one of the old ones.
really,
I think so, yeah.
Didn't play that one.
we've
and
come
that-
a long way since those polygons.
Right. That's
Yeah.
before the developers realized that there's a difference
That was-
between paleontology and archaeology.
I still
They're
not
like,
sure
oh,
they know
wait,
what
is there a
archaeology
difference?
is. Oh. Well, that one was alive, so I don't know if it counts as paleontology if it's still alive.
Oh, yeah, I guess it has to be dead, right?
That's probably. You're asking an archaeologist, so
I don't know. Yeah, that's a good question.
Back in the jungle.
yes,
Because I gotta find that box.
it's quite a good jungle.
Yeah, that was a big monkey.
Yeah. Apparently not scared too badly
Pretty
by
big for the Amazon too. I wonder what
Yeah.
it is. Where's my survival instinct? There we go.
I need that.
Some berries. I still don't know how to heal.
Looking for berries.
Is it one of those where you just stay out of harm's way for a while and you heal?
I thought you actually had to heal in this one.
I don't see any health bar or anything, that's why I wondered.
Oh, I think you have to go to camp and then you can craft things. That's right.
Oh, gotcha. Oh.
Who's she calling to?
A
monkeys?
jaguar that's about to eat her.
Yeah. Ding, ding, ding.
Yeah, she definitely doesn't have good luck.
Or does she? I mean,
Maybe you're right.
does
She might
survive all
have.
this.
That's true. She's probably the most lucky person ever.
Everyone around her
He's-
has bad luck.
Right. That's true.
There we go, high ground. Nice.
Oh, this is a pretty game.
It is, yeah. It's actually, this is really well done. The graphics on this are pretty amazing.
Oh yeah, this one's
Silver
great.
Crown Mountain. That's probably where the silver box is at. Oh, she's
That's
a
what the
flare.
riddle was about.
Ah, it's all coming together. Well, we're at our hour of Archaeology Arcade, and so I think this is a good stopping point. We've had a lot of action and adventure, and we've learned not to. Oh, look, eggs. We've learned you can remove eggs, but not artifacts, and have serious consequences if you are a Laura Croft.
Not
So-
if you. They're endangered eggs.
Yeah.
Some sort of ornithologist will be very upset.
I know, right? But it's been great having you back, Andres, playing this game with
Yeah,
us
thanks for
again.
coming.
Hopefully
Hey,
we can
thanks for
do this.
having me. It was fun.
Right.
Anytime.
But everybody that joined us or didn't join us, if you follow us on our YouTube channel, if you subscribe to that, then you'll see whenever we post a new video up on there, and that's just a good way to keep up with it. And then if you want to go to that, it's just youtube.com /Florida Public Archaeology Network, all spelled out as one word. And until then, we'll see you next time. I don't think we have another one scheduled on the calendar just yet. We're working on a couple different guests, possibly sometime in December. But of course, you can always join us. Usually on Fridays, we do our No Man's Sky archaeological survey. Although, are we doing one Friday?
Not
Tristan?
this week, no.
Not this week,
Because of the holiday, yeah.
right? But next week we should be back on in the first week of December on Friday at 2 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Central Time.
Yep.
So thanks for joining us, and we will see you next time.
Yeah, thanks for having me.